On July 4th, 1863, after 47 grueling days of siege warfare, General Ulysses S. Grant and his troops entered the Confederate stronghold of Vicksburg, Mississippi.
The garrison of Vicksburg surrendered this morning. Number of prisoners as given by the officers is 27,000. Field artillery, 128 pieces, and a large number of siege guns, probably not less than 80. The other stores will probably not amount to any great deal. Major General Ulysses S. Grant to Nathaniel Banks, July 4th, 1863.
As the Union troops swept through Vicksburg, they found the abandoned printing office of the city's only active newspaper, the Daily Citizen. Out of desperation, the newspaper's editor, James M. Swords, had been printing issues on the backside of pieces of wallpaper. Grant described the newspaper in his personal memoirs.
The Vicksburg paper, which we received regularly through the courtesy of the rebel pickets, said prior to the 4th, in speaking of the Yankee, boast that they would take dinner in Vicksburg that day, that the best recipe for cooking a rabbit was first catch your rabbit.
The Union troops were surprised to find that Swords left the typeset for the July 2nd issue. They printed the issue with a few edits at the end. It read,
"This is the last wallpaper edition, and is, excepting this note, from the types as we found them. It will be valuable hereafter as a curiosity."
Nearly 160 years after the event, the Ulysses S. Grant Presidential Library, located in Starkville, Mississippi, had the opportunity to acquire an original copy of the July 2nd issue of the Daily Citizen.
Once we had the Daily Citizen in our possession, the next step was to actually authenticate it. Because this issue of the Daily Citizen was such an iconic piece of Civil War memorabilia, it's been duplicated numerous times, and there are lots of duplicates out there. So we wanted to be sure that we had one of the couple of dozen of original copies in existence.
There have been over 30 reprints of the Daily Citizen's July 2nd issue that we really need to go through and look at each version to determine whether it's a reproduction or whether it's one of the original's first or second editions. And so the Library of Congress has created a 10-point system to determine whether it is an original or a reproduction. Now, we have two versions of the Daily Citizen in our collection here. This on the left, donated by the Keenum family. This on the right, donated to us by our friends at the Columbus Lowndes Public Library. Now, automatically, just by looking at the two, I can determine that one is a reproduction and one has questions as to whether it's an original. The one on the right is very cleanly done. The font is very clean. There aren't really any imperfections in the printing, but it's also yellowed. And the one on the left is still very clearly white paper. That's because paper during the Civil War period was generally made of cotton and cotton rag, versus paper in the late 19th and through the 20th century, which is usually made of pine and has a high degree of lignin, which is very acidic, and that's why newspaper yellows very quickly. This is turning yellow. The one on the left still is in pretty good shape. If we go through, though, point by point of the Library of Congress's determining requirements, we look that both of them are about the same size, 9 inches, a little more than 9 inches wide, about 16 inches long. So they both kind of meet that first determination. Column 4, the last article before the note, a single quote around the word dead instead of a double quote. And sure enough, it says double quote, old Grimes is single quote dead, versus the one on the right, which says double quote, old Grimes is dead, period, double quote, close quote. So according to all of the 10 guidelines and requirements by the Library of Congress, for a copy of the Daily Citizen to be an original and a second edition in this case, this one on the left meets all of those requirements.
We appreciate our copy of the Vicksburg Daily Citizen because it really gives us and our students a lot of insight into what people during the Civil War era were thinking and feeling, the ways that they tried to cope with hardship and even trauma. And it allows us to properly contextualize this very critical moment in Ulysses S. Grant's presence in Mississippi.